Howdy, howdy, howdy. How are y'all all doing? Welcome to Monday. Welcome to the Monday after Easter. Hope y'all found all your Easter eggs. If not, we have some smelly backyards before too long. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Before we go any further, a big old SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love reality TV. I love reality fans. I especially love you guys out here watching this evening or watching on repeat later on. Both of them perfectly fine in my book. Thank y'all. I have so much fun doing this on Monday. I know I feel like I say this every week, but it really is a lot of fun. What a neat way to kick off a Monday. So thank y'all for being here. And as we go through this evening, any questions, comments, anything else y'all got? Fire away. I got a few things we'll talk about this evening, but I'm pretty open as well. But I hope y'all are doing great. I'll say it now so I don't have to say it later. If you haven't already done so, please consider going out, subscribing to my channel, turning on notifications, and you can even hit that little thumbs up. And I'm always appreciative of that. But mainly, I'm just happy that y'all are all here and you survived Easter. How hard is it to survive Easter, right? Yeah, watch out for rampaging bunnies and all that. Ma, I wanted to check in. How are you doing? I hope you're doing all right. I know last week you're feeling a little stressed out, so I hope you're doing better this evening. All right, with that being said, let me go out real quick and see who all's out here before we start getting to comments and stories and everything else. Amanda Lowe. Amanda, how are you doing? Brian as well. Brian, howdy, sir. Marilyn Sutherland. Ma, glad to see you out here. I think I said Amanda. I'll say it again, Amanda. Jake the Horror Movie Geek, Marilyn Sutherland, Cindy Hire, hey Cindy, Andy W, and Marion. Hey Marion, how are you? White Gary, hey White, how are you? You saw some more musical acts. Yeah, you're always seeing musical acts. And Marina Carol as well. Welcome to all of y'all that are in the comment section, those of you who are just watching, and again, everyone who's watched on repeat as well. So yeah, what's going on? Well, first of all, I guess considering my little reminder that I posted on Instagram and on the YouTube app and my background as well, right? Figured I'd start off with a little this day in history. I had so many last week and I got so busy talking, I just missed them. So I'm going to do it right off the bat so I don't forget. On this day in history, 111 years ago, I had to do the math real quick. On this day in history, April 10th, 1912, the Titanic sets sail for its maiden and final voyage, took off from Southampton, England, went over to, I didn't realize the Titanic went over across the ship channel, picked up some people from France before then heading across, theoretically headed to New York. Didn't quite make it. Kind of like my game of Big Brother. Came close, but just didn't quite make that final destination. I should make clear how many 1,000 something people, 1,500, 1,800 people died, about half the ship. You think about that. 111 years ago, we're still talking about it, still making movies about it, everything else, because it wasn't just any ship. It was supposedly the biggest, the fanciest ship in the world. All these rich people on board as well. I mean, the cream of the crop in terms of people and everything else. They had swimming pools in there. They had all kinds of stuff set up for the folks who could afford the fares. I saw something saying that there were rooms on the Titanic that ran, I don't know, 40,000 pounds. That seems like so much. Even back then, God, it had to be a whole lot of money. Incredibly expensive rooms for the richest of the rich to cross the ocean, and didn't quite work out, right? Yeah, so tough. I always, Titanic was such a, I remember as a kid watching the old black and white movie, The Titanic. But what really got me more so than Titanic, one of my favorite movies as a kid, one of my most memorable movies as a kid, The Poseidon Adventure. Y'all seen that, right? If you haven't, you need to, but I'm sure most of y'all have seen that. That was my horror movie in terms of disasters. And all. I guess my introduction to disaster type movies, what was that, back in 73, 74, something like that. Poseidon Adventure came out. Next thing you know, every film studio is doing every kind of disaster you can imagine. Earthquakes, Towering Inferno, the Hindenburg, Airplane with Dean Martin. There were so many of them. I love those as a kid. I don't know. Why do you like those kind of things as a kid? I guess to get your blood pressure pumped up. Poseidon Adventure had a little kid that was 12 years old or so I could relate to, what are you going to do if you're on a boat? All I know, Titanic, way far north, a whole bunch of icebergs. I've told y'all before, I can't stand for cold water. Cannot stand it at all. Uh, if I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, if I'm going off the side of the boat, I'm lasting about 10 seconds. That's all. I forget hanging onto a raft. As soon as my toes touch that cold water, say, "Damn, see you in the next world," because I'm out here, guys. Yeah, I don't like it at all. As part of the oil field, one of the things we have to do in the Gulf of Mexico, you have to take survival training in case your helicopter goes down, your boat goes down, things like that. So I had to do some of that. But here in the Gulf of Mexico, we don't have a whole lot of icebergs that we've got to worry about. The guys that I knew that worked up in the North Sea, offshore Scotland, Norway, and all that, one of the things they had to do when they trained, when they worked offshore, they had to take cold weather survival training. And part of it involved being in a helicopter, a fake helicopter, but being in what was a mock up of a helicopter over a swimming pool with freezing cold, like 40-degree water in it. Turn off all the lights. They would flip the helicopter upside down as it fell into the swimming pool. And your job was to unlatch your safety belt, get out of the helicopter as it's submerging to the bottom of the pool, make it up to the top without freezing to death. And they had so many guys that suffered cardiac arrest and everything just from the temperature of the water. They eventually had to get rid of the freezing cold component because it was hurting too many people. Good thing I didn't work in the North Sea because I would not have been able to handle that at all. All right. So anyway, but I guess Happy Titanic Day is probably the wrong way to say it. Titanic Remembrance Day. This day, a lot of people had no clue that they were taking their last steps ashore and heading off somewhere else. So it's cool. You see those pictures, though, of that ship still down at the bottom, still so well preserved considering how long it's been. But I guess when it's that cold and that deep, you don't have a lot of oxygen and stuff degrading it and decomposing everything. Pretty amazing stuff. So, all right, we'll move on to something else. I can talk for Titanic was cool. Read about it. Read about the technology involved in that ship. For back then, incredible. All right, a few little comments before we go on to other things. Ma's saying, have you been to Hershey Park? You doing great? And you're on vacation. Yeah, that makes everything that much better, right? As far as the first question, have I been to Hershey Park? No, but the idea of a place that's dedicated to chocolate, pretty good in my book. I tell you, inside the Big Brother house, they gave us those free, everything was free inside the Big Brother house. They had for us in the storage room every week, they'd have those bags with those little snack size Hershey bars and crackle bars and everything else. So addictive. And that was the worst possible thing to have that thing sitting in a bowl in our kitchen. Because every time I'd go by, you grab one or two, and it was real quick. It didn't take long to figure out who liked what kind of chocolates, because halfway through the week, the only thing that was left were those crackles, which are the little red ones with the rice or whatever. I like them, but no, apparently no one else did. So had a lot of chocolate. But no, I have not been to Hershey Park. I'd like to. I love me here some Hershey Kisses, but yeah, not yet. So tell me all about it, Ma, if that's where you're headed. Mark Taylor saying, how was your Easter? Did you play any pranks? And then Andy W saying, hey Cliff, hope everyone had a blessed Easter. Yes, we did. I had a great Easter. Went up to see my mom and my brothers, all my family that lives up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So went up there to see them. Started off a little rough just because it was pouring down rain. Driving from Houston to Dallas, it's about a 4.5 hour drive or so. Poured down rain the entire time. Just miserable. Not the way to start off, but it's okay. But we got up there. We had fun. We actually kind of did 2 Easters because some of my family, some of our family members weren't able to come in until Easter Day. Others were there for the first part of the weekend, but then on Easter Day, they had to leave early to see other family members, extended family. Y'all know how it goes, right? So a bunch of people going different places. So we had a big fancy dinner, Easter Eve, I guess you'd call it, Saturday night, Easter part 1. Got up Sunday, went to church, and then had Easter part 2 and did it all over again and hunted for some Easter eggs. And yeah, we had a blast. Now, prank-wise, I didn't do as much as I do some years. I have a few thoughts in mind that I held off. I'm going to do them next year, perhaps, but I did a couple of them. One thing that we always do is my mom cooks up 5 or 6 dozen hard-boiled eggs. A bunch of hard-boiled eggs. Man, you go broke buying eggs nowadays the way they are at the grocery store, right? They're kind of expensive, but she buys up a bunch of eggs, hard boils them, Then we go out into the backyard, and all the kids, I was going to say the young kids, all of us pretty much, decorate eggs. The young kids just dump them in that dye, and that's it. Or take markers and mark it up a little bit. Us older ones, we try to make them look like our version of the Fabergé eggs, as fancy as you could possibly imagine, very artistic and all that. Well, I went in after my mom had hard boiled the eggs, but before anyone had a chance to actually go out and start dyeing them and coloring them and everything, I grabbed a white crayon. Let me tell you this. Did you know that where wax goes onto an eggshell, dye won't stick? So if you take a white crayon, you can write stuff on that egg that no one will notice until they put it in the Easter egg dye. And suddenly it's like invisible ink comes alive. So I took a couple of eggs and wrote, Cliff is number one, and a few little prank messages like that. This egg belongs to Cliff. Wrote a few of those in, just mixed them in with the rest of the eggs, and just waited. And sure enough, people started dyeing eggs. They were had it all marked up with their markers and stickers on it. And then they dumped it into the dye, just all excited watching it turn purple and reds and all. And then they take it out, looks great. They start blowing on it. And then they realize on the backside, it kind of, and so of course, then I came and say, oh, thank you for doing my egg. That's my egg. It's my name's on it. It must belong to me. So yeah, I did that and pranked a few people with that and had a lot of fun. The other prank that I did, well, I didn't do, I was just the instigator. It's great having younger kids in the house because you can make little suggestions to them and they'll do it. I've got a nephew who discovered a rather big, not a Jumbo, and just a big beetle out in our backyard. And he was all kind of worried about it. I said, hey, man, go put that inside an egg and give it to one of your cousins. So sure enough, he grabs one of these plastic eggs, puts the beetle up inside there, seals it up, and then goes over and to one of his slightly younger cousins and says, hey, I found an egg. You want extra eggs? I can't carry anymore. And so the girl said, oh, sure, thanks. Takes it and he says, open it, see what kind of candy's in there. So of course she opens it. This bug comes running up her arm. She's screaming and hollering. Her basket falls, eggs fall everywhere. And unfortunately, she laughed once the bug got away from her. Of course, her second comment was, "Can't go get that bug. I want to go give it to someone else." And then she got a younger cousin and all. So yeah, we had little Easter eggs, little bugs and everything as well. So yeah, we had fun playing the pranks for Easter, as we always do. So yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that. All right, let's see. Mark Taylor, who is your favorite to win Survivor? My favorite's the old Indian man. I assume you're talking about Yam Yam, right? Although I still don't know. Is it Yam Yam? Is it Jam Jam? Or is it Yam? I think it's both names, but I've heard some people say Yam Yam. I've heard some people say Jam Jam. So I don't know. He's pretty good though. I knew from the very beginning he was going to be pretty funny. Who's my favorite to win? Maybe here's the thing: who I'd like to see win may not actually be the one who wins at the end. You never know. But I gotta say, Danny. Is Danny a firefighter? I think he's a firefighter. I think that's what he does. I think he'll do pretty well. Now, sometimes when you're by far, and it seems like he's by far the kind of the alpha male, the strong, guy and all that. Sometimes that puts a target on your back that now that the tribes have merged, he may be in trouble because of that, but seems like a nice guy. Certainly he can hold his own on challenges. Now that they're going to start doing individual immunities, I think he'll win plenty of those. So I think he's going to do well. Who would I really like to see win? I'm cheering for Carson and Lauren because Carson's air and space. Lauren is from the Texas, just down the road from me, a neighbor. So I'd love to see the two of them win. But I got to say, I like a lot of them. Franny is starting to grow on me a little bit. I would not have ever picked her. She just seemed like an anonymous, random kind of Survivor contestant. But I think she's going to start showing people even more. I think she understands this game pretty well. And then how can you not cheer on Carolyn to the very end? It was so rough this last week, this episode. Caroline is telling everyone, saying, look, Josh has a fake idol. He's already used the real one. He showed it. She had all this intel on him, and no one would listen to her. No one. They just ignored her. I wonder if she makes it to the very end, are they going to take her to the final three tribal? I assume it's going to be final three again. That that has a pleads their case before the jury. Are they going to take her to the final three because they give her no credit for doing anything, that she's just kind of hanger on and all that? She's doing a lot more than that. I would love to see her make it to the final three and maybe just talk out and just talk about everything that maybe she's done, tried to do. She's fun to watch, but I also am starting to get more and more respect for her as a game player. I think I said this a couple of weeks ago. In some ways, she reminds me of Kat Dunn from my season of Big Brother, who plays a character that maybe she's playing it off as a little flighty, a little bit. Is that the right word? I don't know. Yeah, a little entertaining and all of that, and not so serious. But inside, there's a whole nother level of play that she's not showing people that we're starting to see as viewers. I don't know. I could see any of them winning would be a lot of fun. It's interesting now that they've merged. I always forget until they have the merge episode that a lot of these castmates, we feel like we know them all by now. But some of these castmates may not have met castmates from other tribes yet, especially if they weren't one of the ones that went to the island, the little extra trip some of them got to take. They're learning about these people for the very first time, even though we feel like we know them. So I'm curious to see how people are going to interact with each other because of that. I don't know. It's going to be fun. Misfire is saying, what do you think of Matt and Franny's showmance? Well, based on my own reality TV experience, I'm not a huge fan on showmances at all. They make the whole gameplay problematic for everyone else. It's an extra component you got to watch out for. So overall, in general, not a big fan of the showmances, but Matt and Franny, I'll make an exception there because they just seem very lovable people, right? I mean, they don't come off as, they come off as very nice people. Matt and Carson, yeah, kind of the two nerds of the season and all that. And I feel like in some ways I could relate to both of them. I like Matt. I like Franny. I hope they do well together. I hope they support each other and continue to protect each other and make it as far as possible. So yeah, I'm buying theirs. What do you call them? Shipping it or whatever. I don't know the younger lingo, but I like that showmance. I hope it does well. You don't see nearly as much showmances on Survivor as you do on Big Brother. Probably because Survivor folks, they're out there grungy and not enough to eat and just feeling miserable, sleeping outside. That's Big Brother people. We got it pretty cush compared to them. So yeah, I like it. I enjoy seeing it. All right, Mark saying, any word on the start of Big Brother 25? When did you know when you were going to be on the show? Month and date. All right. Well, first of all, no, I haven't heard anything new about start date. I wonder if they know. I keep hearing this rumor, and I should have done some research before I came on. There's talk about another writer strike that's coming up, and I don't know if they're talking sometime this summer or next fall. I should have done some research, but I remember last time they had a writer strike, it was right around season 8 or so of Big Brother. By the time I started watching, I feel like maybe we got an extra season of Big Brother because of that. If I remember, if they have another writer strike, what does that do for reality TV? You know, especially something like Big Brother, which is happening on the fly, because that's an easy show to maybe, stretch out and do extra things, throw in extra seasons. But if you're going to do that, do you shift it forward or back? I don't know. I'm just throwing out a whole lot of suppositions here. I don't know. I haven't heard any official announcement yet. So I think I said before, when I was doing the show, we started into June, but like June 23rd or something. Nowadays, it seems like they're starting right after the 4th of July. In terms of my personal timeline of when I found out things and did things and all, I can tell you that. February 23rd is when amazing, you still know these dates. I still know these dates. February 23rd, I did my casting call here in Houston, just on a whim. Showed up and talked away and for 5 minutes. Next thing you know, I'm talking to people on the phone and sending some pictures and things like that. So did that February 23rd. Right at a month later, March 23rd or so, I was flying out to LA to spend a week to answer all kinds of psychologist questions, get medical exams, talk to all these big wigs who I didn't even know who they were at the time, take all kinds of intelligence tests. Who would have thought they had intelligence tests for any of these reality shows? I wouldn't have guessed that was ever a qualifier. Maybe it's not. Maybe they just want to know who the really easy. I don't know. I shouldn't say that much, but yeah, all kinds of tests out there. As far as when did I know I was going to be on a show, I didn't know for certain until they kidnapped me, which was right about a week before the show actually started. I was in sequester a day or two short of a week. So, a day or two before that's when I actually got kidnapped and or snatched and taken to LA. Now, did I kind of suspect before that? Well, yeah, of course. At some point when I get called and say, "Yeah, we want to send a film crew out to film a little intro just in case you make it on, and you may want to have your bags packed just in case you make it on." Yeah, you start getting a feeling at that point in time that I just might make it on. Of course, they also did a pretty good job of saying, now realize there's a whole lot of alternates that are going out there, and just because all kinds of things may happen doesn't mean you're making on a show. And I think they even had said some stuff like, we're going to film intros, but that doesn't even guarantee you're even going to LA. We just need to have as much option as possible going forward. So, okay, well, I think I'm going, but you convinced me that maybe it's not guaranteed. But so, yeah, I didn't really know. Probably, I want to say around Father's Day or so is when I started saying, because I remember Father's Day saying, maybe I need some new clothes if I'm going to go on the show or something. So maybe sometime around early June is where I really start thinking, all right, I got to have a decent shot at this point in time. But they don't tell you anything. It really is as much as a surprise as they try to make it look like on the show itself. I didn't know until I got my key, and then it was pretty cool. All right, Marion saying, is the seating arrangement on the couch on the night of eviction chosen for you, or do you sit anywhere? No, it's pretty much chosen for us. If I recall, the voting order is very much chosen by production. We didn't have any say on that. Where we sit was usually set up. I remember one time, who was on the block? I can't remember who was on the block, but I think Holly and Sis wanted to switch places so they could sit next to Mickey, and so I guess it must have been when Jessica was HOH and Jack went home. But I think they had Holly sitting next to Jack and Sis sitting next to Mickey, and one of them had said, "Hey, is there any chance that the two of us could switch seats so we're next to kind of our guys?" And I said, "Yeah, that's fine." So every once in a while, someone would suggest that, and it would work. But most of the time, you would just watch. Here's what you may not realize. I think I may have said this, but it's been a while. Before we have the eviction, the live Thursday night eviction, we do a practice eviction earlier in the day where we get called in and they sit down, because it's not just where they want us to sit, but they also want to make sure the camera angles are set up right, that everything's lined up, there's no plants in the way or anything that's going to be an issue. So we have a practice eviction where we come in, they say, all right, you're going to sit in this order. We're going to have you vote in this order. And so they tell us all that kind of stuff. Have a sit down, and they say, okay, now today the vote is going to be zombies versus aliens. Which one are you evicting? And then they would run through and have us actually go into the diary room, sit down, and Julie Chin, I don't know if it's a recorded voice or what, but Julie said, "Hey, Cliff, what's your vote?" "I vote to cast out aliens." "Thank you, Cliff." And so you come back, and it's exactly like the live ceremony. But we would do that and go through the whole process so that we knew where to sit, when we were getting up, who was going to vote right before the commercial, things like that. Once they got done with all that, everything was okay. That's normally when we would then be sequestered up into the HOH room. They'd make us all go up there, lock the door so we couldn't get out. And then I guess their camera people and everything would come in, and anything that had to be moved or changed or updated, whatever they did, they'd do it while we were locked inside, so we couldn't know what was going on in the house itself. So then and that'd be about an hour that we'd be locked upstairs doing that. Now, what was funny is while we were locked upstairs, they would play music for us. And the rule was, as long as no one's talking game, we're going to play music for you. But if anyone starts conspiring, hey, cat, if anyone starts talking game of any sort, any strategy at all, we're going to turn off the music, and because we want to be able to capture that on the cameras if you're going to do that. And if we turn off the music, everyone else up here is going to be upset with you. So we quickly learned no game talk while we were up there, only casual things that had nothing to do with the game of Big Brother. But yeah, we got to listen to a little music once a week before they finished that, and then we come back downstairs. So this just a little intro, a little summary of what happens on eviction day. All right, Mark is saying, do you do you wear your cowboy hat to church? Were others wearing them? Cowboy church. Yeah. Here's the thing. No, I didn't. I actually wore a suit and tie. I know I did wear cowboy boots because they're my dress shoes, right? I've got my regular boots that I wear, several pairs I just wear all the time. Then I've got my pair of dress boots, which are very, very black, very shiny. They're all full quill ostrich. So they're my dress boots. So I did wear those with my suit and tie. But yeah, no cowboy hat in church. Yeah, a gentleman's not supposed to wear his cowboy hat inside the house anyway. I make an exception for this show and while I was on Big Brother, but otherwise, you don't really wear your cowboy hat indoors. Certainly not to church. My mom would have me have my tail if I did that. But having said that, there are churches here in Texas that are cowboy churches. I mean, it's called the Cowboy Church, and I think it's kind of non-denominational, but it started off a lot of these cowboys that go all around the Southwest doing rodeos. You know, they're never home. They're always at some arena doing shows. Lots of them are on Sundays, and so they would start having church services just for the cowboys and the contestants and everyone, you know, and everyone involved, the handlers and all that at these events. Well, then someone said, well, why don't we just have that as a permanent place? So there's a place between Dallas and Fort Worth. It's the largest cowboy church ever, and I mean, take a barn. It's certainly not anything fancy because that's the whole idea behind it. They carry their worship into where they do their work, which happens to be a rodeo arena that's just been converted into a church type environment. I've never been to one of them. I assume if I went there, I could probably come in wearing my cowboy hat. But I'd still have to take it off once I came indoors. But yeah, they do have cowboy churches. But no. I can clean up when I need to. So yeah, left the cowboy hat at home for that one. All right, let's see. Marion saying, is the stuff that goes on in the hallway before voting pre-rehearsed or does it just happen? A little bit of both. I know when the first week or two of voting, I don't know, maybe other seasons are different. My season, they were so just, oh, let's do this, let's jump around. That the people who weren't threatened felt like they were safe. They were just not a care in the world. So they spent way too much time rehearsing. Tommy and Holly, they spent way too much time rehearsing all these little dance moves they were going to make going down the hallway and all of that. Those of us who felt a little more less secure, and I had been on the block. Now I got pulled off the block, so I knew I wasn't going home, but still, yeah, I was playing full game 100% from the very start. I didn't have time to be messing with any dance moves or anything. Yeah, and my guy Ovi was on the block versus Cat. Either one was going to be a loss for me because I wanted to work with both of them. I wasn't in a happy mood that first week or two. Now I was happy it wasn't me, but thinking ahead, I wasn't in the mood to be hobnobbing with some of these folks and acting like it was not a care in the world. So yeah, a lot of people were saying, I'm sure. I think I probably said, yeah, I'll do something, and we figured out. I don't remember what I did the first week. I tipped my hat or something. I don't know. But that was at the start. There was a lot of talk that came into it in discussion. As we got further and further into the season, eventually we reached a point where people were just saying, forget it. I don't care. I'm just going down the hall. And sometimes those you'd see someone and you would just, do something just not planned, but just that made sense at the time. There's a few people like Tommy and Christy, I'm sure up until the very end, if they're going one after the other, they're probably still doing something because they're tight and they knew each other outside the show. So there was still some that was rehearsed, but at least for my part, it was like, all right, I'll play along, but I don't really care what I'm doing so much. And by the end, most people didn't either. You start getting a lot more serious as you get further into that game. It stops being just all kinds of fun and games after a while. All right, Mark's saying, do you feel there are too many idols this year? Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Seems like everyone either had one and used it or still has one. Yeah, I'm a little old school. I would just soon see fewer idols, but I am curious. Now that all these castmates are coming together, what's going to happen? Because not everyone has told the same story when they've gotten back to camp. Not everyone has said the same things as far as the birdcage and what was locked away in there. As people start comparing notes, I think there may be some people that are getting ready to get called out for maybe not being quite honest about what all was going on. And if I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the real idol in one camp may be a fake idol in another camp, as far as what was in these bird. Because remember, those bird cages had a real idol and then it had a fake idol. But I think the real idol wasn't always the exact same thing in all three camps. I think, and the fake idol wasn't either. I feel like they mixed them up. So someone may have what they're claiming to be a real idol that someone else knows was a fake idol in their camp, which I could see that creating all kinds of confusion and uncertainty as we go forward. We may have tribal councils where there's 3 or 4 idols being played, half of which are not valid and creating all kinds of chaos. Which, all right, I guess I'm looking forward to seeing that. But yeah, I know every season Survivor feels like they need to ramp it up just a little bit, and unfortunately, I think sometimes that means in putting a few too many idols out there, because there are a lot of them. I'd like to see them back off a little bit. Here's something else with Survivor, and I don't want to be too critical because I still love the show. And if Jeff Probst ever calls me over here, yeah, I'm all for everything. Whatever twist you want to throw at me, Jeff. You want to have an idol every single week, go for it. You want to give every one of us an idol to start the game with? I'm for it. I don't have any issues. Just ask me. I'll be a very agreeable player when you talk to me. But having said that, I also noticed Carson. He had to solve that tree puzzle, the 3D puzzle, right? He made the exact same puzzle with a 3D printer and practiced it beforehand. So what an advantage. Now I know that some people will say, well, if you are willing to take the time to practice and prepare, then more power to you. And I agree. I'm not faulting him for taking advantage and studying and doing everything that he can do. But that tells me that they need to change some of these challenges up. If it's to the point where everyone can just build the exact same puzzles and get that kind of an advantage, they need to throw some twist in there. They need to look at different types of puzzles. And I don't know what that is. There's people that are getting paid full salaries to come up with some new puzzles there. I think we're due for it. And even a lot of these challenges, it seems like every challenge this season to some degree has been race to here, do something, race to here, do something, race to here, do something. At the end, solve a puzzle, roll a ball, something like that. I would see a little more variety. I love some of the setups, but it seems like they're a little repetitive this season. I'd like to see a little bit more changes going on. We'll see. Maybe. I want to see it. I want it to be less predictable so no one can prepare the way Carson did. But more power to him for doing it. All right, Amanda Lowe saying, do you go to the Texas State Fair? Is it as awesome as it seems? It's pretty cool. As a kid, I used to go all the time. It's up in Dallas. And so it's up in Dallas in October. I'm down here in Houston, so we don't always go up as much as we used to. Right after the Big Brother season was completed, after I came back from LA, we went up there that year. It's the first time I'd been to the state fair in quite a few years. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of everything. They got big text, a big old cowboy in the middle as a howdy Texans, and they have big text. It's got moving mouth and everything. As a kid, I thought it was really cool. Huge carnival area and auto shows and Fletcher's corn dogs. You can get corn dogs that are phenomenal. It tastes great. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But I don't go as much as I used to. Here in Houston, instead of the state fair, we go to the Houston Rodeo, and that's in February and March. And so a little more focus on the livestock, the cattle and everything else, but they still have a huge carnival midway and exhibit hall and all of that. But yeah, I love those kind of fairs and carnivals and everything else. And the Texas State Fair is pretty big. And they have people all the people cook the foods and do the artwork and everything. It's just a lot that goes into those things. I guess every state has a state fair, right? But I think we do ours biggest and best. Just my own personal opinion. Of course, I've been to the Oklahoma State Fair. Other than that, I can't really say I got a lot to compare it to. But yeah, we have fun doing it. All right, Mark Taylor, do you feel like Big Brother 25 will follow Big Brother Canada and get rid of live feeds? Do you feel it'll wreck the show? I hope not. And yes, they can't do it. No, Don't even be putting that out there into the universe because it would drive me bonkers. I don't think they're going to get rid of the live feeds. I think it's a different business model for Big Brother US versus Big Brother Canada. Big Brother US, I feel like they have live feeds as a way to drive viewers to Paramount Plus to sign up for the CBS app and make more money off of that. They get rid of live feeds. There's not going to be a tenth of people that are on Paramount Plus that are normally on because of Big Brother, right? So no, I don't think that's happening. Whereas with Big Brother Canada, they've got so many more sponsors within that show. HelloFresh, Wendy's, the Shark Vacuum or something. Seems like Sonicare. I was watching the episode a couple of nights ago. There's Sonicare in their bathrooms. They've got more sponsors on that show. And so I think in Big Brother Canada, where so much of their money is made from these sponsorships, and those sponsors probably don't want to have anything controversial pop up on a show that they're sponsoring. So as a result, I think there's more incentive for them to cut the live feeds up there and reduce the chances that someone's going to say something stupid, because we all say something stupid when we're on mics 24 hours a day, you know. But so I feel like there's a different motivation going on up there. They don't want to upset the sponsors, so you cut the live feeds. Down here, we don't have the sponsors. We didn't even have Outback Steakhouse when I was up. I went in thinking, well, at least maybe I'll get lucky and get to see a movie in private or go have a steak dinner in the backyard. I didn't get any of that. No, nothing at all. So ours, Big Brother US, it's all about getting people to Paramount Plus, in my opinion. Not that anyone's told me this. I'm just, I don't think we'll get rid of the live feeds. If we do, it changes the show completely and not in a good way. I would hate that. It just wouldn't be the same show without the live feeds. You don't have as much discussion going on. It's harder to keep track. I watch all the episodes of Big Brother Canada. Now I know they've got those dailies, which sometimes I try to keep up with, but not as much, because I know that they can edit out stuff that they may want to surprise you with. And they may not want you to know. So I don't really feel like I'm getting a true taste of what's going on in the house. And that's a shame. Yeah, no, I don't think they're going to do it down here, and they better not. If they do, what am I going to do with my summers if I'm not doing those overnight feed recaps? Get a lot more sleep, but yeah, I'll give up the sleep to give us live feeds. So yeah, don't even throw that out there. We're not talking about losing live feeds. All right, Marine Carroll saying, I never could understand why Jackson was so cold to Ovi. They were both Tennessee Volunteers alumni. I know. I remember at one point thinking, do these people know each other? Because Christy and Tommy, I did hear Wall Yeller mention they knew each other, but even before that, they were both part of the LGBTQ community. They only lived a couple of miles from each other. I remember sitting there in the backyard thinking, y'all gotta know each other. How would you not at least occasionally not your paths cross because of it? And so then all of a sudden I hear that. I'm hearing Kat and Holly talking about, we're both the energy drink girls. We don't know each other, but we're both energy drink girls. And then Jackson and Ovi both went to Tennessee. And then Bella and Kimmy both went to, both went to the University of Maryland, if I recall. I remember thinking there's a lot of duos in here who could know each other. And I remember thinking Sam and Nick may know each other too, because they're both up from like Philadelphia and all of that. It certainly dawned on me that maybe half of us are completely independent and half of us know someone else in the house. Because it would seem. Now I know university because I went to Texas A&M, and I know schools down south. Some of these schools, they're huge, they're gigantic. So it is possible that you can go to school and not ever see each other. But Ovi and Mickey were in the same. They were in the same degree program. I think they were both political science. So if you're even in the same major, I guarantee you I knew everyone that was within my major at A&M. So yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. And I got to say, now as I look back, yeah, they were pretty cold. That's a good way to say it, I guess. Mean's probably a more accurate description. Little mean Ovi. And at the time, there was a lot of me just saying, as long as it's not me, I was just trying to do what I could to try to develop some kind of relationship with people. Because again, I was the very first person whose name was mentioned as going on the block. It killed me when I got replaced with Ovi. I was glad I came off, but when they put Ovi up, it just, yeah, I hated it. Ovi was my guy. Couldn't stand, but I don't know. I don't know why they didn't connect better, because I know coming in, I was like, all right, anyone I can find any connection with, I'm going to exploit as much as I could. Kat was from Dallas. I'm from Houston. Oh, Texas. Well, we got to work together, Kat. Sam had was a dad. I was a dad. Sam, man, you and me, we got to work together. Uh, Everyone, I tried to find something, and I don't know why Mickey wouldn't have done the same thing with always saying, man, we got to work, Tennessee, we got to watch out for each other. I don't know. Ovi, it was cool. Ovi, before he left, he gave me his University of Tennessee pin that he had taken to the house. And I don't know if y'all noticed it, but every single eviction episode, whether I was on the block or not, every live episode, I wore that Tennessee pin on my shirt, just as a way for, I thought, well, so Ovi's at home, so he's watching it. He knows I'm thinking about him by wearing the pin. And then after the season was over, on the finale night, I gave him the pin back. So, yeah, that's just my own little message to Ovi that I don't know that anyone else picked up on, but yeah, I loved Ovi. I wish Ovi could have played that game longer. We could have done Ovi, Nicole, and I. We could have done something. We could have carried it just a little bit further, I think. All right, Brian saying, worked the Texas State Fair in 1986. It was a month long. Worked the bet on the month game. All right. Bet on the month. All I can think is y'all know the movie The Jerk with Steve Martin, where he's working at a carnival and his job is to guess your age within 3 years, or guess your weight within 3 pounds or something. I don't remember. And he's all upset and disappointed. His boss comes and says, what's wrong? He's like, I'm horrible at this. I keep guessing wrong. You're going to fire me because this is horrible. I say, you're charging $5 for a guess, and the little plushies, they get $3. You're good. You're fine. And it's different. But yeah, that's cool. I would that would be a cool way to work for a month. Never worked the state fair, but I did work at Six Flags Over Texas, which kind of the same thing. I worked Six Flags Over Texas for 4 years, all through high school. I guess my senior year of high school, I worked in a machine shop, which was a horrible job, but it paid a lot more. And, raising money for college tuition and all that. But I spent a lot of time working at Six Flags. Now I worked at Gifts and Souvenirs. So I worked inside the gift shops as opposed to working games or rides or anything else. But it was kind of a cool place. All the people coming in there to have fun, ride rides, see the shows and all that. And I was there to help them with their experience a little bit. Yeah, working the state fair would be kind of interesting, because you certainly have people there that are working and having fun and getting a little extra money and all that. And I feel like you have some people that they used to call them carnies. I hope that's not a bad word nowadays, but some people who just seems like they just kind of float around the country working carnivals all season long, that we'll just call them free spirit, a little more free spirited in terms of their responsibilities to the world and all of that. I have a feeling you run into all kinds of people when you work at the state fair, or any kind of setup like that, right? All right. Nathan and Keith Franken saying, hi, Cliff. Nathan and Keith, both, yeah. Howdy. I'm glad to see y'all out here. Thank you. I appreciate it. Howdy, right back to you. All right. Marion saying, how long does it take to get used to all of the cameras? About 10 minutes. I mean, it was interesting for us because I didn't think about the cameras really as soon as I got in there. I just didn't, I don't know. It should have affected me more, but I wasn't thinking about the cameras as much as I was thinking about the microphones and what was being said. And we had a little bit different than later seasons, because the live feeds weren't on for the first week that we were in the house. And so we knew that, of course, you say something that's important, it's still going to get recorded and played for the episode, but just the nonchalant little, here to here kind of stuff, we knew that wasn't always being recorded. And so I guess that was a gradual transition to get used to it. By the first week or so, I wasn't even thinking about the microphone so much either. Every once in a while you say something, you think, oh my God, it's, little things like I can't say that out loud, because even if I'm thinking it in my head strategy wise, I don't want people who are watching the show to think that I'm turning on so-and-so, or that I don't respect so-and-so. There are a lot of people hooking up in my season. And I may have had a thought or two about the people doing that and how it maybe was helping them in the game and all that. But I didn't want to say it loud, because it's people they have a lot of fans out there. It's well, Cliff's bad mouth and so and so. So yeah, you think about it some, but you truly do get used to it pretty quick. As far as the cameras, we don't see the I mean, you see the cameras that are up pointing and moving and all that, but a lot of the cameras are behind the one-way glass, and so you don't even notice those. And I don't even remember, even though this whole house is filled with mirrors, I don't really remember looking in a mirror that much and seeing my face. I just got used to not looking at the walls, I guess. The only time it really hit home, I think, was like in the middle at night when I was getting ready to go to bed, and I'd walk into my room and start to like change clothes or something, and the camera point towards me, or I start saying something, and all of a sudden the camera pointing towards me. Then you think about it. Or if I'd get up in the middle of the night to go into the restroom or something, as I'm walking through the darkened room, I can hear all the cameras as they're following me along. Then it hits home that there's no privacy in here. They're always watching. It could be 3:30 in the morning, the only person awake in the entire house, and there's still 15 people watching you from the other side of the wall. That was a little strange. That took a little getting used to, but I do feel like if you're the kind that's going to worry about that too much, you probably shouldn't be playing the game anyway. I went in there saying, yeah, whatever. Film me however you want. Hopefully I don't accidentally stumble out of the shower naked or something and make all kinds of websites that I don't want to make. But other than that, whatever. I'll give up a couple of months worth of privacy. You got to go in with that kind of attitude, or else it'll drive you bonkers. All right, Monica Baca saying, hi, Cliff, and everyone in chat. And howdy right back to you, Monica. And Amanda saying, still crack up. Thinking about all of you practicing the bird calls. Tommy was funny, really got into it. That was so rough. We tried so hard to remember those things, and the caged barn owl versus the captive barn owl versus the free barn owl, woo, woo, versus woo, woo. Something the wild warbler, or there was some little quiet bird, the quiet warbler. We're trying to memorize these things, trying so hard, trying to keep them all in check and figured out. And they'd only give, I don't know if you remember, they'd only give them 2 or 3 of them at a time. And then you'd wait an hour or two and you'd get a couple more. And so you'd have to pop up real quick and be ready to listen and try to remember the old ones and all. And I remember the next morning, I think Tommy and I were the only ones that were up, or at least the only ones in the kitchen. And they said, here's a recap. Let's recap all the birds we heard overnight. And they start going through them. And there's a couple of them that were completely different from what we had heard the night before. I mean, like they'd switched 2 of them around. And I remember looking at Tommy and Tommy looking at me, and both of us saying, I thought it was the other way around. Yeah, I thought so too, Tommy. What's going on? I don't know. I guess we had it wrong. We didn't realize they were pranking us. Oh my gosh, that was hard. And here's what y'all don't know. I don't know if he's ever talked about that week. Nick was a huge threat. I mean, Nick thought he was going home. Just thought for certain it was him. So he wanted to learn those calls more than anyone else. And yet he fell asleep, and no one bothered to wake him up. He fell asleep, so he missed most of them. So he got some 1 or 2 people to help him out with what they were. When we were in solitaire up in the HOH room, remember I told you that they play music and all, and we just have to sit there. We were all sitting there talking and chatting and just whatever in the main room. Nick went into the bathroom area and was going over these things over and over again, because later that night was going to be the calls. And so he is just practicing over and over to do these things, and so worked up. You can just see him. He's walking around just like this, trying to say them all. We get into the backyard. I can still hear him over there just mumbling as he's trying to repeat them over and over again. And then Julie reveals the whole thing's a prank, and we got to roll balls instead. And yeah, it was rough for Nick. For me, not so much, because I thought once Holly won, I was probably in okay shape. But yeah, they got us pretty good. We had no clue. Maybe we should have, but we had no clue. And my family still talks about watching that episode and how funny it is watching us all try to replicate this. So yeah, it's pretty neat. All right, Ben White saying, hello, I love these insights into the game. Well, thank you, Ben. I enjoy talking about them, and you've got to be careful because you sign your soul away when you do Big Brother. You're not supposed to reveal any secrets or anything else. But I feel like this stuff isn't. It's not revealing anything that's going to cause issues with anyone. It's just it's stuff I was a fan way before I was on the show, and it's kind of stuff I always like hearing. So yeah, I'm happy to divulge and share and let you know kind of just what happens, the parts that you don't see on TV, because there are a few of those. All right, wow, 7:51. We're getting there pretty quick. Uh, let's see what else we got. Yeah, man, it's that crack up thing. Tommy with those bird calls. If I recall, Tommy had a song. He turned everything Tommy did was about a song, but he had those songs worked out with all the birds in there, and he knew it pretty well, which was one of the reasons that I booted him. One of the reasons I wanted to see him gone at the end is because I'd seen how well he did remembering those birds' names. I knew how well he was doing in terms of remembering dates and faces, mental challenges, and memory dates and all that. Tommy scared me to death. He's got a heck of a memory on him because he tied it all into music, which is his language. So yeah, I was worried about that. All right, Vicky Stone saying, what would your dream car be? Oh, I don't know, Vicky. I'll say this, as a kid, one of my dream cars. I remember really thinking that a Carmen Ghia was a cool car. I think it was probably a kit car built on a Volkswagen frame or something. So not exactly a speed demon, but I remember there was a neighbor, a person in our neighborhood who had a Carmen Ghia that was all sparkly, and that was so cool. I thought that is the fanciest looking car. So I like that. Dream car for a long time, maybe it would be like a 68 blue Ford Mustang muscle car. That'd be pretty cool. I'd still be all right with that. My dream car now, though, is probably more of a Ford F-150 King Ranch pickup truck. A little more practicality with those. Something that'll get through mud puddles and haul all kinds of stuff, and boats and jet skis and all that. I like my trucks. But yeah, some of those muscle cars back then were pretty cool. I remember a few of those. Of course, that was my dream car. The reality, I did not own a Carmen Ghia. I did not own a 68 Mustang. My first car that I bought, paid for it all myself with what I made working at Six Flags Over Texas. I was proud. I remain proud of that. But my first car was a 1974 Chevrolet Caprice Classic in a bronze color. Look at the color of a penny. That was the color of my car. And this car, it's just like the Love Shack, the B-52s. They talk about a car that seats about 50 or something, 15, maybe 50. That was my car. This thing had to be 20 feet long, bench seats. You probably hold 15 people in there if you want. A trunk, you can fit another 4 or 5 in there. It was a huge vehicle. I didn't realize necessarily at the time, but my parents, when I found this car, my parents were all gung-ho for it because they knew there was so much metal between me and any boundary of this car. I could never get hurt. A lot of metal. I think I got about 12 miles per gallon with that vehicle as well. But that was my first car, Caprice Classic. Hey, I'm still proud of it. It did what it did, which was to get me around high school and college as well. I drove it all through college. So, hey, that was back when you could actually work on cars and change out alternators and do some things that nowadays it's all electronic. I wouldn't even try to do it. But yeah, that was my car back then. All right, 7:55. What else? There are a couple of things I was going to talk about. We'll let's see. We talk Big Brother Canada. I mentioned I'm still watching it. They had a secret HOH last week. A secret HOH, secret veto. No one knew who was putting up anyone for nomination. No one knew who was playing vetoes. I kind of like that. That would have been cool if they'd done that with our season at some point. But yeah, we had that. One other thing I want to mention to y'all real quick. Big Brother casting 25. If you live up in the Northeast Connecticut area, they've got in, I don't remember where in Connecticut, but April 13th, my mom's birthday. So I won't be there. But on April 13th, they've got a casting call in Connecticut for Big Brother. Hey, go out there, make your videotape, and they'll send it in, and you never know. It's a casino too. So if you're over the age of 21, you may win big bucks playing Keno and not even need to worry about Big Brother. But yeah, casting call. What's the 13th? Is that Thursday? I think that's Thursday. Yeah. So if you're up in that area, let me know if you go up there. I'd be curious to see how it goes. What else? Couple minutes. binge. I didn't even talk about this. A couple of binge movies I watched. We watched over the weekend. If y'all get a chance, check it out. It's on Netflix called Night Agent. And they've been promoting it. Sometimes I get hooked in. It's all right. Y'all want me to watch it? I'll watch it. Night Agent. I think it's about 10 episodes. It's all conspiracy stuff. Kat Dunn would love it because it's all conspiracies that people with the U.S. government aren't maybe who they actually represent themselves to be, and they're plotting against each other. And the world's going to end if we don't get this stuff figured out. And so this story about one FBI agent who gets drawn in. Next thing you know, he's getting chased and threatened and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty good. I'm not going to win an Academy Award, but it was pretty interesting. Watch another show, and I'll throw this at you. I don't think it's on Netflix. I think it's Amazon Prime. So if you get that, check it out. It's called Dragon Day. Did y'all like Red Dawn? Not the remake, which I think was horrible, but the original Red Dawn. Way back with Patrick Swayze in 1984, in fact. If you like that kind of Red Dawn, you may want to check out Dragon Day because it's something similar. It's about a world in which just all of a sudden the U.S. is in debt. The Chinese government decides that we owe them too much money and we're not paying up, so they shut down the lights, literally. There's a cyber attack. Everything shuts down. Everyone's trapped in place. Next thing you know, you can either be part of the resistance, or you can put on a little armband that tracks everywhere you are and controls everything you do. And then you get food and water and rations. Otherwise, you're kind of an enemy of the state. And now I'll say this. Some of the absolute worst acting that I've ever seen in my life. It was incredibly bad acting. The plot wasn't much better. It was, I think I put it as part of Mystery Science Fiction Theater 3000 or something, because there are a lot of things you could make fun of. But the basic idea that kind of a cyber hacker type version of Red Dawn is kind of cool. It's kind of an interesting thought experiment. You just have to not get too invested or worry too much about how bad some of the acting, everything is. I'm not an actor, and even I recognize it. But still, if you get a chance, go check out Cyber Dawn. That would be my Rotten Tomatoes low score, but yet still fun to watch. And that would be like Roger Ebert. I can do one of these things one of these days. All right. It's Cindy saying I just watched 80 for Brady. All right. Well, I'm not a huge Patriots fan, but maybe I'll check out 80 for Brady. You look like it could be kind of fun. Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about that some other day. All right. Hayden saying Chevy Caprice, pretty cool. The Babe Mobile before the wife. Yeah, thank you for qualifying that. Yeah, I'm not sure that a bronzed looking vehicle that barely can make it up the hill is necessarily the Babe Mobile, but yeah, certainly before the wife. I think I'd already sold that car when I had, because I met Sharon in college. She actually saw me in my brand new car that I got when I graduated, and so she saw what I moved up to. I don't think I ever showed her my own vehicle. That's probably a good thing. But you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. Like I say, it got me where it needed to go, and that's all I cared about. I'm sure the guys in the Trans Ams and some of those vehicles back then probably had a little bit more Babe Mobile than I did. I couldn't rely on the car. I just had to rely on my own hog charm instead, right? Yeah, Sharon's over there laughing, saying, yeah, it takes more than that. All right. With that, I think we're going to shut it down, guys. Y'all have a great week. For those of you who work, speaking of, tax day next Monday. Well, I know what I'll be doing this week. So if you haven't done your taxes yet, time to pay the piper. But other than that, y'all have a fantastic week. We got Survivor coming up. I'm curious to see what happens with the merge. I'll be back next Monday. Tell you all kinds of, who knows what we'll talk about next week. Y'all give me ideas. If there's anything y'all want to talk about, let me know. But until then, SKD 143. Love my wife, love my kids, love reality fans, love all of y'all out there. I said it before, I'll say it one more time. If you haven't already signed up, turned on notifications for this YouTube channel, consider doing so. And you can hit the thumbs up while you're out there. Yeah, why not? Well, why the heck not? Guys, y'all have a great one. I will see you next Monday. Hey, shoot me an DM on Instagram or Twitter between now and then. Let me know what y'all think about the show. Any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask here, shoot it to me. I'll either answer it personally or I'll do it next week. Till then, guys, y'all have a great one. Cheers, my friends. Bye. See y'all later.